That would be the last option in my life. I love being a Franciscan. Now, in this, I wear my habit every single day. I had a little, some English that I learned when I was in Canada, so I used that to give classes to children at home.
Was that a promotion? Is that something you were looking for?
I don't know if it was a promotion, maybe it was a headache, because
So, Casey, you know how, different cultures have different things that are acceptable and not acceptable, and some things that are legal in one culture and not legal in other cultures, right?
Yes, I'm a bit worried where we're going with this.
Have you ever done something that you thought was just mundane, and then you realized you participate in something that would be considered illegal in another culture?
If I have, I'm not going to admit it here. Have you?
Yes, today,
Okay.
and I will.
Oh, go for it.
So, I had ramen for lunch today. Because, it's simple, quick, easy, delicious. Turns out the ramen that I had is illegal in Denmark. It has been banned for being dangerously spicy.
Oh, I've seen this, yes. Those poor Northern Europeans. Oh, it has a little pepper in it. It's too spicy.
I mean, let me tell you, yeah, it had a little kick. I added chili oil. So that tells me everything I need to know about their food.
Poor things.
Yeah.
Yes, I think food is a great way to get to know a culture, and sometimes you get to know things you don't want to know.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. I'm probably going to visit that country at some point, and I'll have to eat there, but I'll bring my own hot sauce.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if this is related in any way to our spicy classmate that we're talking with today. A man who has lived quite a life, who is full of wisdom and full of energy, a man that we got to live with in novitiate and is a great joy to live with, someone who has actually appeared on many YouTube videos with me from the very beginning. We haven't seen him in a little while. Well, let's welcome to the show, Edgardo Jara. Lalo, how you doing?
Hi, very good. It's good to
Feeling
be.
spicy?
It's still spicy, but yeah. By the way, yesterday a family invited me to eat, and I was feeling to get something, in my mouth, and I just got a tortilla, tossed tortilla, and I put just the hot sauce directly, nothing else. And I was eating, but after I finished it, my mouth was like this, so I request milk.
Yes.
Milk, but milk is good when you have those kind of problems. But I enjoy it. It's a kind of pain in your mouth that you enjoy.
Yeah, I think all three of us like spicy. The spiciest thing I ever had was in Chicago with Tito. It was a Mexican priest, and he had these peanuts that he had red peppers mixed in. And I don't know what peppers they were. Yeah. And so I asked Tito, who is my canary in the coal mine, I said, am I allowed to eat these? He goes and he pops one right in his mouth. He's like, oh, yeah, they're fine. I eat one, and I am in excruciating pain for the next 10 minutes. He is as well. He chose too quickly.
In my defense, I put it in and I was like, yeah, this is fine. And then as soon as you ate one, I went, oh.
Uh-oh.
Because it built up.
That's the problem. The first bite is fine. Later, you are in trouble.
I don't know if you remember, we the three of us, when we lived together, so Lalo, you and I were postulants together, and then Tito joined us at St. Bonaventure when we did that summer experience. And one of our brothers decided to make salsa by himself in the kitchen, and he was frying up peppers.
Yeah.
He smoked out the entire apartment. It was like tear gas.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember who you are talking about.
Yes, yes, we remember who.
Everyone just left. Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of cruel and unusual punishment is this?
Yeah. I've done that before. I try to have the vent on, so that doesn't happen. But I've actually learned the best way to do it is to kind of age and ferment the peppers beforehand. So that develops them and changes the flavor. So you don't have to roast them. You can just, puree them, add whatever other ingredients you want to go. I'm actually aging peppers right now in my room.
Oh, my goodness. Good for you.
You said ferment.
Yeah.
Here is More, who is one of our friars, and he loves to cook. And when he do it, that is at the end of the hall here in this old convent, you smell it. The whole house, you feel it
Yeah.
in your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There's no escaping it. There really isn't. And there's no escaping you, brother, because you are wonderful and you draw us all in.
well, I lived in Mexico for years, so I learned to eat hot. In the
Well, that was what I
beginning,
was going to ask you. You're from
Yeah.
Costa Rica. You lived
yeah.
in Mexico. I know about Mexican food and like real Mexican food. What about Costa Rican food? Is it spicy?
No, it's not spicy at all. We have some kind of little thing that you put just like a 2 drops and that's it. And that for us is so spicy. But in Mexico, no, I had those experiences that almost for 1 year, I really was sick for 1 year.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know
Oh
how
my
many
gosh.
bottles of Pepto-Bismol, that
Oh
medicine,
yeah.
I drank in 1 year.
Oh,
But
gosh.
at the end of 4 years, I was like Mexicans putting a lot. Oh, this is that.
That's right.
I have to put
Well, it's
more.
because you had no taste buds left. You had just put jalapenos on everything. Oh, cereal in the morning. Yeah, jalapenos.
Yeah. And many of them just buy the peppers, and I
Yeah.
cannot do that. But
It's addicting, like you think you're not like enjoying it, and then you go and have a food that has no spice, and you're like, there's something lacking here.
Sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I go nuts. I'll fully admit that, but no, I think it grows on you, and then once you don't have it, you're like, I want a little bit more. But yeah, brother, you spent time in Mexico though. How many years were you there?
I was there 4 years.
4 years.
I really was living there. Yeah, that was in my early 30s, I would say, or later 20s. Yeah,
And
27, 28, 29. Yeah, those.
there you go. And
Let's
so,
step
what were
back a
you
little
doing
bit.
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were in formation, right? But you said early 30s. Let's go back to the 20s. What were you doing in your 20s? We want to
Well,
get the whole story.
early, well, if you say the whole story, before going to Mexico, I finished my high school, and when I was little, I wanted to be a priest, and then I grew up, and then I think this part of the guy of the party, like San Francis of Assisi, was like a little me. So after I finished high school, I went to Canada with exchange program. I was there for almost a year, and when after that experience, I come back not thinking anything about church or calling, and then
The Canadians.
I went to university. I studied, business, and I was the soul of the party. It was just to have fun, with friends,
Yep.
living by myself, having my own apartment, my car,
Living la viva loca.
even with a lot of Ricky Martin. No, not that like that. But anyway, and then so it was some years that I would say, according with the world, I was living very well, but not spirituality. And then I went to Mexico for with a pilgrimage or tourist, something that was organized in my city with some friends. And that moment we went to Querétaro, to the Convento de la Cruz, where the House of Philosophy is located. And when we were there receiving some instructions from the leaders, I saw 20 friars walking, and they were the students' friars, from one building to the other building that was there. And that's when I got like, that was my first time I saw friars, Franciscans, flesh Franciscans. The first time I saw one was with Marcelino Panivino. That was a movie. And I was very, little, around maybe 6 years old or 7 years old. And that's when I told my mother, I want to be a priest like them, those in the movie. But then when I was around 25, that's when I saw really friars walking. And so everything starting there, it was like a something there, like the seed was planted. And the next day I went to have mass in that church. And after mass, I went to talk with the guy who was at the sacristy, and everything started from there. In
That's a
Costa Rica,
fast-growing seed.
Yeah.
One day,
I just
something
decided
welled up inside you.
come back to Costa Rica, and then we are talking 30 years ago. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have really internet. Everything was just phone, very expensive to call to another country or letter. So it's not like today. So it took me 1 year to talk with this friar and to start the conversation. But he told me, you need to be here. We cannot follow this because it was not anything online like today. And so I decided to move to Mexico. So I
Wow.
left everything, I sold everything, and that's when everything started over there. But my mistake was that in Costa Rica, uh, classes start, it's like here, August to May, June. Summer is different in the tropical, area. And so I went in January thinking classes will start February or March. And when this kind of communication was by letter, so I didn't have time really to get the whole information. I was guessing. So I went to Mexico, I show up, and he said, well, no, classes doesn't start until August or something. You
Oh
need.
no.
When I rent a room with a lady, but everything is connected and everything is providential because one block from that church, San Francisco Church, in Querétaro, it was a restaurant, and the name was San Francis Restaurant or something like that. And I was there, and the lady there, the owner, saw me and we were talking, and she was the one who gave me the contact information of this person who was in need of renting her rooms. She was a widow. She just came from another state, and she has a big house, and she was renting the rooms. So I contacted her, and I rented one room, and two German girls were renting the other two rooms, and a French guy. So we were like an international house.
Yeah.
So I was there for almost 5 years. I did some currency, and I was working. I had a little, some English that I learned when I was in Canada. So I used that to give classes to children at home, and so I make some money just to pay the rent.
Well, I
Until
was going to ask you, it was going to be
Yeah.
a joke. Do you speak Spanish? But you're in a different country. So is Mexican Spanish completely different from Costa Rican
Oh my
Spanish?
God. Yes, Casey. Really, I learned Spanish again. Everything changed completely. Every word that I was using, people didn't understand what I was talking about.
Yeah.
For example,
Yep.
I asked instructions to the ladies. I need to go to downtown. And so, of course, just take the camion. And fast. But camion in my country is where you put all the animals, cows, and so my
Yep.
mom was, I had to take the camion. What is this? I think she saw my face or something, and that's when I told her to clarify all the microbles. So that, well, and then when the sidewalk, we said acera, they said I forgot what they said. No, okay. And then, or the swimming pool, for example, they said alberca, and we said piscina.
Right.
So
Piscina.
everything changed. So
Oh my gosh.
I learned Spanish again. They couldn't understand me, and I was not understanding them either. So anyway, that's part of the
Tito would
experience.
not understand this as a Puerto Rican because they speak proper Spanish and understand everybody.
You and I ran into this problem in novitiate when I wanted to make you a birthday cake. I don't know if
Oh,
you
really?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because-
let's just say the word that we use for cake in Puerto Rico means something else in Costa Rica.
Yeah, for us,
What did you get him? A scandal?
No. He thought I was asking him for a scandal.
Oh my.
What you talking about? Yes.
Not that sort of birthday, Tito. We're friars now.
Yeah, that's one of those things in Latin America that it changed many things. So I think it's difficult for those who are learning Spanish when they go to one country and another. That they, how can I learn Spanish in that way if
Yeah.
everything is changed? But yeah, it's part of the experience, and it was fun. Yeah.
I've just made a game out of it now. Whenever I meet someone from a different Spanish speaking country that I've never encountered before, I go, okay, let's have some fun here. What do these words mean to you? And I just go down a list of words. And sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're very different.
The introduction that I listen from both of you is, what you do in your country sometimes is not allowed, not permitted in the other country or another
Yeah.
location. And that's completely, I learned how to be or to act as Mexican. And one formator, Father Abel, who is already in heaven, he told me something: where you go, do what you see, and you will be fine. So don't try to keep everything because you are the one visiting that place. You are the one who is there you need to learn the culture or what they're doing. If you try to do it and do it well, you will be fine. And that was his advice. And since then, uh, yeah, because in Mexico they do many things different, even devotions, even Catholicism. And well, I think I was, because at the end of the 4 years, the Costa Rican guy was the one leading the posadas or leading the Our Lady of Guadalupe feast. That was not something strong for me as a Costa Rican, but the other Mexican, they were lazy to do it, my classmates. So I was the one doing it, the one that I was not Mexican. So, so yeah, you'll get
Yeah, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Exactly.
When in Mexico, do as the Mexicanos do. So you're there and you're working, you're learning the culture, you're learning the language, which is just funny to think about. But then you join the friars there. So you don't join the friars in Costa Rica. Is that because there aren't friars in Costa Rica?
The Central America province, they had some presence in Costa Rica, but only like two houses, and they were concentrated in the capital, and I was in the north, and so I never met them. I didn't know that they were in Costa Rica at all, and because I met the friars when I went to Mexico, when I visited them in that tour, I kept the connection with them, and so I was not like, yeah. And then when later, my second time that I joined the order, I didn't. We had internet, and that's how I found friars in the United States. But yeah, that's
So
another
the
story.
second time you joined the order, you jumped over the story. So you didn't stay. So
Right.
you're neither a Mexican friar by nationality nor culture. So
Right.
you're not a Mexican friar now. What happened?
I left. I left after the novitiate. I finished it, but for family reasons with my little brother. Like, he was struggling a lot with depression, schizophrenia, and bullying, and so as I said, we didn't have internet. Calling, I was allowed only to make one call per month to my family,
Wow.
and so I was receiving letters from my mother with information, all information, because it took like 1 month to arrive one letter. And but I would receive letters from my brother complaining about my younger sister was in Australia, my older sister got married, so he was living practically with two old parents. I was in Mexico, so he was dealing with all this, and I felt his pain very deep, and so I needed to make a decision. And I think by the intercession of the Virgin Mary and St. Francis, after a long time of prayer and fasting, I had the courage to say I need to come back to Costa Rica to be with my family. They need me right now. It was not about me in this moment, or that moment of my life was my family first. And then so I left. Unfortunately, later, like 6 months later, when my sister, who was in Australia, returned to Costa Rica, he killed himself on Good Friday.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so after that, my mother didn't smile like for 10 years. So because I couldn't leave the country again, the Franciscan means to leave the country. Even if I joined the Central America province, you had to go to Guatemala or Nicaragua, not really Costa Rica always, the full time. And so that's when I decided to join the diocesan seminary. I said, okay, I cannot be a Franciscan, I cannot be a friar, I will be a priest. Yes, I was feeling both vocations, religious life and also priesthood. So I said, okay, I'll
Wow.
least to be a priest. And that's what I did.
Yeah,
But
I mean it's an element of discernment we don't always talk about. We talk about what do you have to give up to go and be a friar, and is this right for you? But also,
Right.
when you're there, maybe the sacrifice is giving up that vocation for a bit. Obviously, you made it through. You're a friar now, but maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe it wasn't the right place. You had some obligations to family. And I'm sure, I mean, not to put words in your mouth, you would have regretted it if you would have stayed. Your brother needed you, your mother needed you. That's a huge sacrifice to make that it's not what you wanted necessarily, but it's what they needed.
yeah. And after 10 years, that's when I saw my mother smiling one night in Christmas, and I said, okay, she's ready. I'm ready to go. And that's
Oh
when
my
I,
gosh, wow.
yeah, it took 10 years for her to really the whole thing. And so I contacted in this time the Central America province, but I was too old to join the Franciscan. In Latin
Brother, you're
America,
young at heart to me.
yeah, I was 40. 35 years old, I think. And for them,
So
those
young.
guys who were joining the postulancy, they were 18, 19, 20. So I think they were a little afraid. So this guy already, he has some theology, he has philosophy, he has some experience in religious life. So he's going to contaminate our,
Gonna
I mean,
contaminate.
I think if you join the friars in the United States, you will be young over there, and
Oh, yeah.
that's what they told me. And so yes, and then at that time, internet was already available, so I contacted the friars through internet, and Google. I don't remember if it was Google in that time, or maybe Yahoo. And I started, and I found the Lady Guadalupe, the legacy one, the one from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's when you see God's work. Uh, when I contacted the one who was the director vocation in that moment was Gonzalo, who was my classmate in Mexico.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
he was
Wow.
over there. He left the Mexican province and he joined the province in the United States from
The new
New.
Mexican province. He's all about the new trends. Who needs the
And,
old when you got the new?
and another thing is that we didn't get along much when we were classmates
Oh no.
in Mexico because that's another story. But and
Oh, we got time, brother.
Yeah.
Spill the tea.
because and no, because it was like we were 18 in that group, something like maybe the size that we had when we were in the novitiate. But me and a Venezuelan, we were the only two practically from another country. The other sisters were Mexicans, and they were not like a really nice guys with those who were not Mexican. So we had a hard time, and it was like a two groups. It was two leaders, I and Gonzalo. So
Of
half
course
of
you were a leader, yes.
Gonzalo and another half was with me. I was there always defending the group that he was a little, having some tensions. They were a little mean with them, bullying with them because they didn't play baseball or soccer as they wanted. So they were bullying a lot, and I was defending this group, and he was with this group. So that was the tension there.
I'm getting mean girl vibes. What's going on here? Warring factions.
Regina
But it's
George.
part of the community. Was the first year. Don't misunderstand the kind of
Sure,
thing.
no.
Human beings, and
But probably not the person you wanted to see when you first called, and you're like, "Oh no, this guy. What am I gonna do?"
yeah, that was thing. Well, I emailed, I sent him my message, and he was another person. Another person. Why? Now he was living in another country. He had the
Oh,
experience of living there and maybe dealing with things that I was dealing. So I think when he already had like maybe 7 years already in the United States, and he was another Gonzalo. He was not the same guy that I left when I left the order in Mexico. So I was very surprised. And he went to Costa Rica. We had the conversation over there, and so everything, yeah. So like maybe 6 months later, I was in Gallup, New Mexico, having a candidacy, and a year later, I think I joined that province.
happily ever after. That was the end of the story.
Right. You stayed in Guadalupe.
No, I didn't stay in Guadalupe,
No, the story continues.
and then the story continued because discernment, but not only that, and you pointed out very well, Casey. I was doing some sacrifices, my family first, than my vocation. So when I went to the Southwest, to New Mexico, it's beautiful, but maybe for 6 months. But I'm from Costa Rica. I need green. I need the ocean. I need, some kind of what I think is beauty because my
Mangoes.
at Costa Rica. So, and even food, I love Mexican food. I love the Mexican culture. But I was saying, okay, now I'm making a decision for my whole life to be here in the desert with these beautiful mountains of rocks and things. I can live here maybe 5 years, 10 years, but my whole life,
Yeah.
I don't think so. And I met the guys from Holy Name Province in those years. And the Latinos that I met, that they told me, no, the Latinos that we have in the East Coast are from Central America or from the Caribbean. And my eyes were like this. Oh, black people.
Those are my people.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
when I started the discerning in the process. So I transferred from that province in Southwest to the East Coast with Holy Name College, and that's how uh, I went to live with Casey for 1 year in Wilmington, Delaware, and then
It was a blessed year for us both,
yeah,
mainly for you. But yes, both. But no,
I,
Tito knows something about this. Tito moved from the forests of Germany to the desert.
I remember the first thing you told me.
Oh no.
First 2 months, I remember. Yeah, when you told me about my sandals. Yeah.
Your sandals? What did I say about your
what did he say?
sandals?
Yeah.
I have many sandals.
Uh-huh.
And you and Dennis one afternoon we were outside. We had a porch in that house,
Mm-hmm.
remember? And we were there, and I think it was Dennis, and you said yes, you said candidly, and he said, "Well, Lalo, you have many sandals." But the way that they were doing it was like a little sarcastic, like that doesn't go with
Oh.
poverty if you have many sandals.
Oh.
And so I'm in the Caribbean, I hate socks. I love sandals, and yes, I have many, but
Hmm.
maybe. So I got upset. I don't have
Oh
patience
no.
working with that. And I remember I told to Casey, "Well, I have many sandals, but I don't have an Apple computer like you have."
Mm-hmm.
In that moment,
Yeah.
Whose poverty is greater?
that was yeah, that's kind of thing. That was
Well,
like
see,
a
here's the thing: is we probably weren't making fun of your poverty. We were making fun of your fashion. That's probably what it was.
yeah. It was fun, Yes, and I because I think I'm like not 20, maybe like 15 years older than you, something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
But
Casey was the baby of the group, and I was the oldest.
it's true. But
Yes.
like Casey was saying, your story and mine kind of your reasons and your discernment definitely resonate with me in my own journey. I remember moving to Arizona, and I went from Florida to Germany, very
Mm-hmm.
different. Then from Germany to Arizona, very different. And when I moved to Arizona, it was just tan and brown. And I remember we arrived there. I looked at my dad and I said, "I'm not staying here." And
This
he's
isn't for
like,
me.
he's like, "You're 11 years old. Where are you going?" And I was like, I was
You're
like,
11.
I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going back east because I
Mm.
wanted to get back to greenery and I wanted to get back. I love
Yeah.
mountains. I love the ocean as well. And so, yeah, I, in discerning with the friars, I was definitely looking east because east was just a place that I was drawn to. I nowadays I look and I can say I can live anywhere in the country, for a period of time. But living in Arizona for the rest of my life would have been very, very hard. Not that it doesn't have beauty, it does. It's a different kind of beauty, and it's not a beauty that speaks to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting discernment because we are itinerant. And so we agree to be a part of a worldwide order, and we might get sent somewhere that's different. So
Yeah.
I think there's that personal needs, but also the communal need, and say, what is that limit for me? Because,
Right.
yeah, like if you send me to Alaska, like I'm going to find it beautiful for a couple months out of the year, but
Right.
I don't think I'm going to survive much longer than that. And so you got to know how to survive, how to continue, how to be able to share something. And if you don't get fed by it, it's going to be really hard to share it. At the same time, missionaries got to, sacrifice a little bit. So where do we draw that
Yeah.
line?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
everything is connected. You need to feel well so you can give more. If you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
feel depressed or something, what are you gonna give? And that was the part of the research, and because I asked myself, okay, before I sacrificed my vocation, returning with my family, so now I need to stop of doing those sacrifices and thinking a little bit about me, and that's when I decided to move. And in that moment, we were not talking about one province at all. So that was
No, no.
be here in this province. All the houses that they have, the ministries is located in this area. So that was the thing. Today we have the whole country, so it's something very different. But it's still, they send me to Alaska. I can go maybe for 1 year, but I
Yeah.
know that I will be completely happy and connected to give what I need to give to people and to ministry. So
Yes, let's talk about where you've been sent to. So you've had a couple ministries now. You were ordained, about 7 years ago? Is that right?
Yes, gonna be 8 years. Yeah.
Almost 8 years. So you've lived a couple places. You're out east, now you're out west. Tell us about some of the ministries you've done.
Well, I was here in California. I finished my Master of Divinity here with at FST, Franciscan School of Theology. I had the opportunity to be 1 year in the North, Berkeley area, and the second year here close to San Diego. So was nice time. And I finished and I went to Maryland, Silver Spring, and I did 1 year. My long internship year or pastoral year was at San Camilo's Church, a very, that parish very well intercultural. Is one of the biggest parishes of the Archdiocese of Washington. And I was very blessed to be with or living with Mike Johnson and Jean
Yeah.
Marie.
We just interviewed last week. Yeah.
And the Polish guy. Oh my goodness.
Jacek, yes.
Thank you. And Jacek. So for 1 year, that was a wonderful community. And then, well, Mike left and everything else, it started to change. But when I was there, my Johnson needed to take care of his parents. So he left the community, and some new pastor came, and I was ordained as deacon. And so Jase saw that like an opportunity. I can take a sabbatic time because Lalo is
Cut and
here.
run.
And he left because this is a very busy parish that can burn up. I mean, can takes a lot from you that after
Yeah.
9 years you need to change to go to another ministry. And so I was there for 6 years at San Camilo's, and I learned a lot. And they told me after those years there, you can be in any other place.
Probably,
Because
yeah.
huge with a lot of situations, and COVID came. When I was here in FST, members of the faculty suggested to Larry Hayes, was the Vicar Provincial and Secretary of Formation, and they suggested to him and to me to get some more studies. And in that moment, I was not thinking at all of that. And then that was sent to the provincial, and they decided, no, but you need to have at least 2 years of ministry before that. And that's, but later, yeah, I started to do a doctorate on ministry, pastoral ministry.
So you weren't done with school. After all your formation, you said, I want to go back and sit in the classroom more, just like Tito.
It was it was a blessing. It was with the Jesuit school in New York, Fraternal University, but I was doing ministry at the same time. Sometimes was in person in New York and returning and all that. So I was burning up. It was a lot. So that's when they moved me to Virginia, because I was already crazy, but I was getting more. And so they asked me to go to Virginia, Quantico. We have a parish there, San Francis of Assisi Parish, close to the Quantico base, Marine base there. And so I was there for 1 year and a half. When I was in Washington, D.C., I got along very well with one of the auxiliary bishops, and he knew me very well. And I did some good work for the archdiocese in that time when I was at San Camilo's. So when I was in Virginia, he called me. He asked me, I would like you to come back to the Archdiocese of Washington. I said, well, you know that I'm a Franciscan, you need to call my provincial. And I cannot decide by myself, or they talk each other, whatever the thing. I received another call, and well, I returned to the Archdiocese of Washington again. So I was now working.
Was that a promotion? Is that something you were looking for?
Oh, I don't know if it was a promotion. Maybe it was a headache because
It was another act of service.
I know that I was starting. When you do this kind of studies that I was finishing, is one of the things to be in those kind of roles of servicing in diocese, that kind of things. But also in big parishes, it helps you a lot. and for that, and in our own order or religious organizations as well. But I told him yes because it was to help in the office of cultural diversity for the whole Archdiocese of Washington. It was something attractive, and I love cultures, and because I had the experience being there at San Camilo's and the Archdiocese of Washington, so I said yes. But I said you need to talk with my provincial. And so I come back, but not to San Camilo's. I was in the postulancy, in the interprovincial postulancy at Holy Name College. That is in the same campus across San Camilo's Church. And so I was working at the pastoral center with helping Cardinal Gregory. 1 year later, uh, they asked me to be the director of evangelization.
Oh, that's how it works, isn't it?
Yep.
So it was a little more complicated because you had in that position, it was evangelization, it was pastoral planning. You have to deal a lot with parishes and pastors, priests, and it's different ministry. And so I was happy. Yes, I was doing a good work. I would say yes. We prepare a whole material after the synod to to work with parishes and to help them to to prepare a pastoral planning for the next 5 years for the 140 parishes that the archdiocese has. But you miss the pastoral part. You miss that part, and there's always tensions with you and the priests, the pastors, and it's sometimes it's things are not done in the way that you would prefer. um,
I find that hard to believe that Lalo would have something that he wants done a particular way.
He's
Yeah,
very
Do you
laid back.
remember, Tito? You remember how we used to mess with Lalo during novitiate?
Remind me.
We would walk into his room and move one thing. Because everything was perfectly laid out. The sticks of gum, the paper clips, everything was perfect. You just move the pen just a little bit.
well, remember that I'm J 100%. I don't have any.
Yes.
But I think you
You
too.
like order.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
you
am too, yes.
too. Yeah, it was
But my
because
room's currently a mess, so I can handle it a little bit.
well, my room is in the, you see my back. That's the way I do. I wake up, and the first thing I do is to clean my bed, and
Yep.
after that, I cannot go out of my room without doing that. And
No.
yeah, so that's part of my personality. But I
And you
learned,
probably were great as a director then. You were very ordered, but I think that pastoral side is so important that
Yeah.
it's great to do things for God, but you kind of want to do things with God and be receiving as well. So that dialogue, those sacramental things, they're so important.
yeah, I learned a lot, and I was missing the direct contact with people because I was doing things with parishes and people, but not the same. It's different
Right.
when you are directly doing some ministry with them. My ministry was practically internal with priests and diocesan staff and all of the organizations and the bishops. And sometimes it's a little hard, that part. Uh, Not difficult, just different. And and also, I was dealing with some comments and gossip from my brothers that I was not happy at all. And I can say that now, that I don't care. They were saying that I was there working in the archdiocese because I wanted to be a bishop, and people were saying that
Oh,
you
that's
were
my
doing
next question.
that.
When you gonna get the pointy hat?
And so I was not feeling comfortable at all. Receiving their comments in the house that I was living, some of the friars, and even outside when I visited some meetings or something, that was the comment. So I was getting a little, not I'm not there because of that. I was there because someone called me to help, and I say yes, and I studied because to give what I studied to the church, and that's it. And so when I had the visitation that normally we do as friars every 3 years and have the chapter, I share all those things. And I think the government took advantage and said, okay, we can take him out from there.
Yeah.
And so that's when they called me one day, room the ring, and I was not expecting at all to come to the West Coast again, and as a pastor. We talked some things about another parish, another big parish that was having some difficulties, but close where I was living. And so they asked me, are you willing? I said, well, that would be the last option in my life. But if I
Oh
have
my gosh.
province need me, I would do it because my vow. And but they called me but not to that place, completely to the other side of the country, the west.
Right.
And here, in that moment was like I didn't believe. First of all, that the province was trusting me to do this ministry, this service, and I was thinking to move all my things in case you know very well that I have
Oh,
many.
I know what that's like.
And
I was gonna say, didn't you guys do something like that before?
Yeah, the YouTube video started because I drove him and drove with him from California to DC.
we drove one car full of things. That's what I
Yeah.
got 10 years ago. But 10 years
Not the same going back.
didn't have the same. So it was more things. It's a how, oh my God, to come back over there to drive it. That was my thing in my head. But, and I asked with who I'm going to work. That was the
Oh
question.
yeah.
And
It's a good question, actually.
but I knew because I was here 10 years ago, I had some experience. What this parish was. And I think, and I didn't have any, I like this place a lot. San Diego better than the north of California. I think I prefer this here than Berkeley or San Francisco. And so I said yes immediately in that call. I didn't ask them to call me later or something like that. I said, yes, God is calling me in there. And then how I have to tell the archdiocese they're going to leave when we
Oh
were
yeah.
in the middle of uh, um, incorporating a huge pastoral planning program, and I will have to stay. I had to go. Anyway,
Thanks.
so we are friars, and so I'm here. And I remember that I asked you guys to help me maybe to move him to do a second thing, but
Yeah.
it was many things at the same time. I think it was
Yeah,
not the
Sure.
time.
I think
Uh,
I was out of the country too,
I needed to be
or at least
here,
that's what I said.
and I was planning to go to Colombia because I got the invitation to join a conference over there. So it was a little something very crazy, and so I said, no, you know what? And I didn't do anything at the end. But
So let's
yeah,
take a step back for a second because
yeah,
you've touched on this just a little bit with the brothers. I think when people look at us as the brothers, say, "Oh, they all love each other and we all get along," and there's some truth to that. Like we do love each other as brothers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we always get along. And you experienced a little bit of that gossip, a little bit of that jealousy, without getting into it and kind of sharing more of the gossip. But how do you deal with that when the guys who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who might be causing you the pain?
and I think that the phrase that I bring to my mind, a kind of joking, but is the phrase from San Francis: "The brother gave me or gives me brothers."
yeah, God
But
give me brothers.
resonates inside. For us, it's sometimes we say that, joking or what, but
Yeah.
it's really that, and it's like, okay, let it go. But it's a time when you have to do something because it's getting more and more and more, and what you have to say. So I talked with my guardian and said, you know what, this is getting a little like I don't like it. It's like every day I receive the comment. Every day is like oh Monsignor, and that kind of thing. So it was a moment when I needed to speak up. And I said, okay, I appreciate whatever, but it's not like that, and I would appreciate if you don't continue saying that. That kind of things. It's communication. And as a Latino that grew up in Latin America, and Costa Rica, and in Mexico, it's hard for us to speak up. We keep things, we don't say it. And I learned very well when I was in the novitiate and that experience. So yeah, I spoke up, I said, and with others, sometimes that maybe was just one time. Yeah, okay, let them think whatever they want to think. But yeah,
I was actually reflecting on this a couple of days ago. There's another religious order that's sort of kind of famous for propping each other up. One will write some dissertation or some book on some topic, and then another one will write another book and reference that brother's work in their work, and it just kind of becomes this sort of, I called it a super collider, right? They just keep building up this circular momentum until, they're kind of going supersonic and rising together. Sometimes we can act like speed bumps for each other. Instead of accelerating each other and helping our work kind of evolve and grow and helping spread the word on it, we can kind of slow each other down. And sometimes it's good because sometimes we're getting ahead of ourselves, but a lot of times it can be a struggle.
Yeah,
Yeah, where do you think that comes from? Is it just jealousy? I mean, are we worried that one person's going to get ahead? Because it shouldn't be that hard to applaud each other and say like, "Wow, Lalo, you've got your I don't sorry, I forget the name of it. The Cafe Theology. You've got your YouTube channel. You do your videos. That's great, fantastic. That shouldn't threaten me. And Tito, you're doing your TikToks, and that's great. That's fantastic. But sometimes you're like, oh, that's going to take attention away from me, and that's not healthy.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of jealousy. I also think it's sort of a misrepresentation of our founding ethos, if you will, like the sense of minority, right? Of staying humble, of being little. I mean, absolutely, that's something that we should always pursue. But if you gain success and notoriety through the work that you do, not because you're seeking the success, but because the work you're doing is showing fruits, we can kind of conflate it with simply seeking notoriety. And I think that's where we struggle.
yeah, it's part of our humanity, and we're growing. We are in
Yeah.
that journey, in that process, and we do some mistakes, and we also, at least I can say that I always have seen about those kind of things with other brothers, and it's part of it's it's part of being brothers. You are so close, then the things that you sometimes do it in that way, and but I think always the piece is communication. When you don't feel comfortable with something, you need to say it as brothers, fraternal correction,
Yeah.
and
How
to
often do we misinterpret each other? We talk about different languages, different cultures. A brother can say something, and I get so angry, and it turns out they were complimenting me, and I didn't even realize it. Or the other way around. The communication's so important.
thing to ask. Nobody can tell you if your brother were doing something completely to offend you or not. You don't ask directly to your brother. And sometimes we go around. But that's part of that's the reason every time when we go to mass, the first thing after signing ourselves with the cross, we say we are sinners. We recognize that we're sinners. It's part of our journey. And yeah, as we are human beings, you know, who are embracing this vocation of religious life. We are not angels from heaven, and that we are just loving each other and kissing each other. We have our wonderful moments together, but also we have sometimes like marriage. And
Yeah.
Yes, we're in a throuple. That's what it is right
oh
here.
yes, now I'm here, close to the ocean, 10 minutes away from the ocean.
Yeah.
Uh,
There you go.
the weather is very good. Even this weekend has been very hot for us here. 98 yesterday, and today is like 96. Tomorrow we'll return to the normal thing, 70 something. But it's beautiful. The community is beautiful, very diverse, and trying to do our best. We are Father More, who is from his Mexican background. He was for some years in San Antonio, Texas, and he lived in Chicago. And now Father Joe, who was in New York, in New Jersey for many years, and first time in the West Coast, first time for Mori also in
Yeah.
California.
Wow.
And so we are trying to do our best, living in a house with 22 more friars. Most of
Wow.
them are
What is that like?
Yeah.
Big house.
and retired. They are,
Oh yeah.
75 over. And so there are some challenges as well. And to keep balance between ministry, community life, and also personal life. So it's always like that. And but yeah, it's beautiful. You can come
Well,
here.
brother, what continues to inspire you as you go forward? You look to the future. What keeps you going?
Um, I think is the in my religious life, the Franciscan declaration is the welcoming thing of Francis, that to relate with every single one. And I think today the church is in need of that a lot. They need to see and to hear that. So in our ministry, to make the difference, that that they to live the gospel in those little things that we do. Even when you are open the door, you can live the gospel in that way, in another way. So that's when inspiring me to see that the world today is in need of that, and we can be part of that with our charism as Franciscans, and to plant the seed there. That gives me, when you receive as a pastor, you can receive complaints and emails and many things that you sometimes don't receive as a parochial vicar, and
Right.
but give you that, well, it's one letter with 20 that are saying you are doing a good job. So continue doing it, and trusting in God. That is God is in God's hands. Yeah. So that's part of it. And I love being a Franciscan now. In this, I wear my habit every single day. I love it. I go to the parish in ministry with my habits since the morning, so I'm spending less in clothing and
No more sandals? Oh, it's still sandals.
in the
It's still
private
sandals.
part. God does things well. And when I was working in the archdiocese, they didn't allow me to go without the habit of color. And sometimes when you have to be full time in the office, the habit is not really comfortable when you have to do boxes and things. So I had to wear the color things. I was just like that as well. But always when I went out, when I was visiting parishes and I was meeting with groups, I always wear my habit. When I went to the office, the only staff people saw me, and because they didn't allow me to go without anything that was, I wear the clergy thing. But it was only in the building. But yeah, here I'm blessed that I feel, comfortable that when people see me, I'm a Franciscan and I'm here and helping, and sometimes these days that have been so hot, I wear it every day. Not when I go shopping or to the movie theater, but because sometimes you want you want to have your time for you, and I don't want people asking me, Padre. So yeah, but I'm having a good time. I think even in my own Franciscan vocation, reaffirming that something that sometimes when you're doing a different job cannot help you, and yeah, so yeah.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to see you. It's been a while since we've been together, but hopefully we'll be together soon. We hope that you're doing, I know, great work out in California, and we'll see you soon. Tito, any final words for our good brother?
Take care, my brother. I'm sure people are confusing you with the San Diego Padres quite a bit out there. So just keep your heart strong and remember to root for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, but my soccer team now is the LA team from Los Angeles.
The LA Galaxy.
Oh.
No, the
Now the other one now, LA something. Yeah, they are new, but yeah, I'm talking with there is one Parisian that he loved them as well, so we are planning maybe to go for one.
Oh, fun.
nice. Yeah, have fun.
Because now in San Diego they are gonna build a new soccer stadium here, so they have to come here to play, so it will be easier.
Okay.
All right, very cool.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, enjoy.
It was-
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. God bless you, and pray for me.
Absolutely. So, Tito, I think because of Lalo's competence, because he's so
Yes.
smart and he's such a good speaker and he's very good at what he does, he can probably come off to some people as very serious, you know, in his like organization, all that.
Yeah.
When I think of him, I just think of that life of the party that he talked about, you know, like just getting the joke in with him. Like
Yeah.
he's very, very serious, and then you poke him a little bit, and then he starts, and he's laughing, and he's so much fun to be around.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. He's very organized, very structured, and he likes structure, and that's absolutely fine.
So do I. Yeah.
Yes, you do. I like chaos. But you're right. No, he was an absolute joy to live with. Very easy to get along with and to joke around with. We had lots of fun. We laughed in both English and Spanish. Laughing in Spanish.
He lets his hair down. He's a
That's right.
singer. He's a dancer. He's a great entertainer. It's good to have a brother like that can make you laugh and can make you joyful.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I miss being around him as much as we used to.
Yeah. So I guess there was something nice about formation. So many years later, I look back
Absolutely.
with fondness.
It was a tough year too. It was in Wisconsin.
Yes, it was. Well, he reminds us that you can't always be a major character, but you can be a minor character, and that's pretty good too.
That's right.
Catch us next week. Peace.